Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wildcat Entrepreneurs Podcast. For today's episode, we decided to talk about one of the most important topic part of your online business, which is the copywriting, right? And for today's episode, we have someone really experienced in the industry because the person we have, he has been writing copies for all the niches like you can think of for last 10 years. Like his copies sold over millions of dollars for his clients. He is in almost every competitive niche out there that you can think of, like personal development, health, dating, business app, and he is considered as one of the top personal development copywriter from Clickbank. And the guest we have is none other than Peter Brennan, and we'll learn so many things from him about copywriting and how we can write good copies after the intro. Entrepreneurship is a wild journey with lots of ups and downs. After 2 years of my own entrepreneurial journey and doing so many things for my business and business growth, none of them brought me the result I was hoping. So I decided to stop everything what I was doing and started building everything from scratch for a solid foundation. And started learning how the experts have done it themselves. Follow me on this wild journey with other wildcat entrepreneurs as I learn from the experts and I'm gonna build my first $1 million business. I'm your host Tanvir Rahman and you are watching season 1 of Wildcat Entrepreneurs Podcast. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Wildcat Entrepreneurs Podcast. As you can see, Peter is with me and he is a really amazing copywriter. But yeah, like we'll learn so many things from him, like about copywriting and how you can become an amazing copywriter. So, hey Peter, how are you? How's your day?
I'm doing all right, thanks. Things are good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really amazing. Yeah, so I was introducing you with the audience, and they know that you are a really amazing copywriter. But I just want to start from scratch, all right? So that's the base of this podcast because everyone start from the bottom. So can you like
Sure.
explain a little bit about like what is the copy and what is copywriting?
What is copy? What is copywriting?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I should know. It's basically, I think someone said, was it Victor Schwab or one of these old copywriters years back said it was like salesmanship in print, you know? So that's a definition that goes back many years,
Hmm.
but it's still very relevant to today because it's not necessarily print as in like print media like newspapers or magazines, although that is copy.
Yeah.
But anytime writing is selling something, so that's like video sales letters,
Hmm.
social media ads across different networks, social networks, the traditional long, big long sales letter that goes on for ages,
Hmm.
emails,
Yeah.
tweets, to a degree, anything that's selling in print
Hmm.
is copywriting. There's kind of two broad elements. So one is like direct response, which is what I do. So it's usually looking to get a direct action, like it's usually a sale or maybe it's somebody
Hmm.
to make a call, something like that. And then you have content copywriters.
All right.
So that's like people who would be writing social media posts, that type of thing. And there might necessarily be a call to action in it. It's got copywriting principles in it. It's trying to get attention and build
Hmm.
desire and curiosity and all that kind of stuff. But it is not as you're not looking for the same action as you are if it's like
Hmm.
an email, traditional sales letter, get your credit card
Yep.
out, that type of thing. So anytime you're reading or hearing something
Hmm.
that's making you persuading you to do an action, it's copywriting, I guess, sales copy.
All right, yeah. But you are speaking about like direct marketing and like regular copywriting, like social media. So what is the difference between like them and like why do you prefer like direct marketing?
Oh, right. I suppose, yeah, there is that difference between like content marketers and direct response content copywriters and direct response copywriters. I would prefer the direct response side because that's kind of how I started because I'm doing this quite a long time, 10
Hmm.
years or so, 10,
Yeah.
11 years. So that's kind of how I started. That's where more of the money is as well because you're getting paid for a particular result.
Hmm.
So if I've signed on to get a percentage of a particular deal, or if it's very easy to kind of quantify the results. That's what interests me
Hmm.
in it, and so it's the more, yeah, it's It's the more kind of real hard edge side of copywriting is proper direct response, like big sales letters and all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
emails. Yeah, you can quantify it and you can measure your results and you can get paid by that.
Hmm.
It's a bit more difficult when you're doing content copywriting, but there is a career in both. So
Yeah, like because like people choose like because it's their personal preference on the end. So I just want to ask, like, how did you get into this like copywriting? Or what do you love about the copywriting
yeah,
industry?
sure. How to get in. So I used to be involved in recruitment for 10 years
Hmm.
and I was a recruitment consultant. And then I ended up managing a part of the business and
Hmm.
we did really well for 10 years. So
Okay.
this was back, we finished up around 2009, 2010,
Hmm.
finished up, but I did that for a solid 10 years. So I was that person. We were in a particular market, we were in sales, we were in retail recruitment, and there was a huge need for that in Ireland at the time because
All right.
we opened up all these we'd opened up all these shopping centers in Ireland and all these British retailers were sweeping over, but they had no idea how to find staff. There was a huge boom in the economy, so we stepped into that kind of need, and I worked for a couple of different companies. One company bought over the other, so it's effectively the same company. I came with it, and then ended up managing part of the business, managing a couple of lads in the business,
All right.
and it was kind of sales focused, persuasion focused, and recruitment is like the hardest sales job you can do because you have the product as a person, and then you have your
Yeah.
client over here.
Yeah.
So this is what my CEO told me the first day. It was very true. If I'm selling a table or a or not fax machine, a
Hmm.
computer or something to somebody, once you agree the client, the deal is done. But in recruitment, this is the product, which is the person. And when I sell that person to this client,
Hmm.
person might walk up and go, no, I don't want to go. So you're all the time talking to this person, the client,
Yeah.
or the client and the candidate, and you're trying to bring them together. So it's all about persuasion,
Hmm.
and it's all about, so a lot of it fed into copy. Anyway, we got the company shut down pretty quickly. The economy crashed around 2009, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I had a real interest in finding something online, so
Hmm.
I tried lots of different businesses online. Never really got all that far, to be honest. Somewhere I earned some money, but copywriting was something that I saw, like I was setting up blogs that were selling particular affiliate products. I was involved in Clickbank as an affiliate. I
Hmm.
was doing a whole bunch of stuff, but copywriting was, I soon discovered, obviously, was the kind of the common element in all those businesses
Hmm.
that would make it a success or not. So I started doing content for a brief time. I was doing like content creation for people, writing blogs and articles when
Yeah.
articles are really big.
Hmm.
And then one of my clients, had obviously, I think his name is Aaron Danker. I still remember his name. He gave me my first sales letter job, and I started
Oh.
writing sales letters. And I discovered I liked that a lot better. And that's kind of how I got in from there. Mostly
Hmm.
working with information marketers over the years, sometimes working for a whole bunch of clients, sometimes for one or two clients at a time. And yeah, that's how I got started. And again, sales letters, emails, video sales letters,
Hmm.
social media ads, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I've done for different people over the years. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's really amazing. But I just want to ask you one more thing, like, which is about like how did you learn like copywriting? Because this is not like one month or 2 month or 1 week job. Like you cannot. So who was your biggest inspiration, or who did you follow like when you were starting out?
Um, yeah, I've done it. I've done it a number of different ways, and
Hmm.
um, so there's loads of books like out there on copywriting
All
that
right.
you can get for pretty cheap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all those. So I'm looking at up at a couple of them now, see if like books like, scientific advertising, how to write a good advertisement, cash advertising,
Hmm.
um, these older books like sales letters that sizzle. Oh, all these books. So I'd always recommend somebody to read those. I need to read them more. Like I always try and reread them,
Hmm. Yeah.
because that's where the core of the knowledge came from. So, so that's one area that anyone should be reading all the time, because
All right.
those books are written maybe 100 years ago, but the information is still the same. Robert Collier's letters, all that kind of stuff can be a little difficult to read compared to now, but it's not. It hasn't been. A lot of the modern stuff today is good, but it's just a derivative of that information. So that's one area
Mm-hmm.
where I learned. And the other thing, I had a bunch of mentors and coaches and stuff. So there's a guy who was the first big copywriter online, a guy called Michelle Fortin. He's a Canadian guy.
Yeah, maybe I
And
heard the name.
yeah, I think he had the first $1 million offer or something like that that ran
Mm-hmm.
online. The
Oh,
first offer that
that's
made a
crazy.
million or something like that. So I remember people like him, I've got a little bit of coaching from him
Mm-hmm.
when I bought one of his products. There's a guy who he works closely with called Alan Forrest. I've done quite a bit of coaching with him, been over to his house in Manchester. These are guys now who would have been starting off 20 years ago in this industry, like, so they would have been going along, they would have been like the pioneers
Mm-hmm.
of the online copywriter. And over the years, I've had little bits of coaching and mentorship from the likes of, say, Michelle Ford and Alan Forrest. I did a course with Harlan Kilstein, where it's like a group coaching course
Oh.
about 7 years ago, and I thought it was really, really good. This is where you're getting kind of direct feedback up until today, where I'm in this kind of I think it's called the Golden Circle or something like that with
Mm-hmm.
David Deutsch. It's like a monthly membership program.
All right.
It's really good. Deutsch is like obviously a really top level number 1 or number 2 copywriter in the world. So him and a guy called Stan, who works closely with John Carlton, who I also bought a load of his stuff. They critique your stuff all the time. So there's kind of three main areas that I've been in. So the older books, which cost nothing,
Yeah.
practically.
Yeah, like
The modern day courses, like say Steph, who's like a huge name in the last few years and today, he has a brilliant course on the RMBC method, that structure.
mm-hmm.
That's really, really good. I wrote some copy for him a couple of years
Wow,
back.
really amazing.
And he introduced me to that. So these guys, so those modern kind of courses that come out, David Deutsch will come out with them, John Carlton will come out with them. Anyone who's got some results, I'd buy their courses. And the old stuff. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think you need that one-to-one coaching. That's where you get the biggest kind of developments in your
Mm-hmm.
copy. You need someone to look at it and to critique it, and that will give you the biggest jumps forward. You also need a mentor to tell you what to read, what to look at, but you really need somebody really much better than you to be looking at your stuff. So I still get my stuff reviewed by David Deutsch in the group if I have
Mm-hmm.
something that I want to put in, and him and Stan will tear it apart in front of you in the group and tell you where you're going wrong or you're going right, whatever. So
Yeah.
that's how I would learn. Um, there's so many resources now, so you could there's lots of free. You could go down the free route like YouTube and Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
all that
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
thing. It's very accessible, and you don't need a lot of money to be able to do it. So and there's some really good modern books. Like there's a book up there called The Art of the Click by
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Harold, and he's a guy who worked for Agora, who are one of
Wow.
the biggest direct response
Yeah, like
agencies.
company out there. Yeah, that's really amazing. But you're speaking about like investment and how much money you're doing program and buying courses. So how much money you have spent for your copywriting career till now?
How much money would I have spent in my
Yeah, like
copywriting
yep,
career?
yep.
Oh God, I don't know a figure, but it would be quite a lot. Some of the more expensive mentoring, like when I worked with Alan first, he was
Mhm.
1,000 an hour to talk to.
Really, that's
Um,
crazy money. That's for sure. Like,
yeah, but I wouldn't advise anyone to spend that kind of money unless they can get the leverage from it. So
mhm,
if you're writing a sales letter and you've got like a few thousand from it, as somebody starting off, but take some of that money and invest it in a
mm,
in a review. you know, because it's any money I've spent on different courses has always given me an ROI.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's scary because like you can build up lots of different monthly things and you can spend a lot on different
Mhm.
courses, but generally there's a good ROI from the products, you know.
Yeah.
So God, I would say this year alone, or God, maybe I've spent maybe 30,000 or so over the last
Mhm.
few years
Okay.
in education stuff. Like there's a
Mhm.
book up here I bought, which I The Brilliant Breakthrough by Eugene Swartz, and that I think that was about $300 or $400 or
Oh,
something, you
wow.
know.
That's a single book. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll show it to you actually.
Yeah. Just
So yeah, Brilliant Breakthrough, very rare book.
yes. That's really
But
great.
but again, it's next to books like tested advertising
Mhm.
methods and stuff. This
Mhm.
is cheap, but this is brilliant, you know. So, and you know, you can get stuff like this is some collection of Bill Jane. He was a great copywriter,
Oh, like he's
70s,
all
60s, 70s, 80s.
yeah, like
That was about
old school
500.
copywriter. Really,
Yeah, that was about 500 or so.
that's expensive for
Um,
sure for a book.
yeah, but I say in the last year, probably easily spent about 6 or 7 thousand
Mhm.
more, probably on training. You kind of need to. You also need to you need to keep up with what's going on now as
Mhm.
well. So you need
Yeah.
to be members of, like, I'm in David Deutsch's group, but there's other ones I have my eye on. Like someone like Stefan Georgi is very good at predicting the movements in the industry and where it's going to
Mhm.
go. So I follow his stuff a lot. I was a member of his membership program for a year where he's breaking down sales letters. You've got to be very aware of what's working in the market now
Yep.
as
Exactly.
well. And on a very basic level, you know, you can, if you're in any market, you can subscribe to the successful offers there
Mhm.
and just study them and follow their structure if you're creating your own offer or if you're writing copy for somebody. That's like the fastest route to success. But it does help if you understand the subtleties of what's going on behind that letter and why it works.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it's not rocket science. It's you know, I'm not like, I mean, obviously I've been to, you know, I've got a few degrees and all, but I'm not like some super smart dude or anything. And, you know, there it's easy, like, you know, this it's an easy thing to pick up, but you just have to, it helps obviously to have passion for it, you know. That's what I would say.
Yeah, like that. That's for sure. But speaking of everything, like there is some audience that they're starting their like copywriting journey and everything. So how what is that you suggest to get their first client, or how did you get your first client to work with?
I got my first client, that guy Aaron Danger. That was,
Mm-hmm.
I actually, you know, as I say, I was writing content for him,
No, right.
and but he had sales letters and different products, so I started writing sales letters and emails for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got some results, and then I kind of leveraged those results to get other stuff, you know. So that's how I got my first person. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I got people through, my best clients I've got through cold email
All right.
over the years, or maybe it was a referral.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, there's job boards, there's ones like Upwork, there's Facebook, there's
Mm-hmm.
cold email, there's what's surprisingly easy is actually to get people to respond to you on Instagram, you know, which
Yeah, like
is
it's,
it's
it's, it's
yeah. Like people who would never respond on people who would never respond through a cold email seem to respond on Instagram. Big names. That's kind of interesting.
yeah, right.
That medium. But that's how I got my first person. But you asked me, sorry, if someone was starting off today,
Yeah,
whether
like how do they get their first client to work with?
I think a lot of people I see that I think one advantage is that I have a pretty decent website. Like I spent money on getting professional pictures done,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I spent money on getting, and not a lot of money, but spend money on the graphics and getting it put together nice. A lot of
Mhm.
people, I see your website is like, you don't absolutely need a website to get clients, but I see it like a store frontage. And a lot of
Right.
people, you could use maybe your Facebook profile or something like that. But
Mhm.
again, you don't really own that profile in the end. So it's good to have your own URL, I think, and a good website
Mhm.
and good samples. So if you're after a client, if you're going in a particular niche, say somebody's writing a weight loss
Right.
supplement letter,
Mhm.
um, you really need to have samples, I think, in that area. Other copywriters teach getting gigs without samples, but even if it's just emails or long form
Mhm.
copy, the biggest kind of persuasion lever for clients is usually having something in their niche already. And you don't need, you could create that yourself. You could write a sales letter in a day or two that's in a particular niche. You could write 3 or 4 of them in a week or 2 weeks. And now you have a portfolio. And you just send your portfolio to people. And I find people, um, a lot of people obviously they want to see the results, but even if you just have your own sales letters and if you can afford to send a bit of traffic to them, that's your leverage point to get clients. And then you can jump on Upwork and the Facebook job boards
Mhm.
and do
Yeah.
cold email. But a lot of copywriters, sometimes I recommend them when I'm stacked up at work.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
recommend someone I know, and they only have like a Google Doc with some stuff in it, and
Mhm.
it just doesn't. It's not a very good storefront for who you are. There's no personality behind it. There's no results, all that kind of
Mhm.
thing. It's all about results. So if you can leverage the results you have from clients, you move forward. But if you're just starting off, get a website, get some samples, put it
Mhm.
together, and work on that and send that off to people. There's loads of people looking all the time, and that's one way to do it. The best clients are the people who have lots of work. So they have a lot big lists and products, different products they're putting out. So you can have a relationship with them. So they're a good target market rather than one-off people who want one job here, one job there.
Mm, yeah.
But when you're starting out, I just work with anyone you can who'll
Mhm.
give you a shot. But I think you really do need to have some samples at the very minimum. But if you're a copywriter, why can't you just write up some samples? One thing I think I see people teaching, which I've tried once, which does work well, is if you go onto someone's list and you
Mhm.
get their emails through, if your email copywriting is a good place to start
Yeah.
because there's not as many moving parts as a long sales letter.
Mhm.
You can see your results quite easily from the open and click-through rates and stuff
Mhm.
and the sales rates. But even if, say you're an email copywriter, get on someone's list, get their emails, and then scribble out a couple of emails yourself and send it off and go, look, if you have time, that's probably one of the best ways to get clients because they will feel that need to give something back if it's half decent. You could say, use these emails. If you make money with them, great. If not, no problem. Let me know. I could write some more. That would apply to anybody who's in a freelance area. You could apply
Mhm.
that to video editing. You could easily edit someone's video and send it
Yeah.
off to.
Exactly. Like this thing, all all the time. But let's say if sometimes my brother asked me like, hey, what should I do? Like I want to be in the online industry. I said like you can learn like copyright. So like I just want to ask like how much a good copywriter makes every month or every year. Not about you, but an average like copywriter. How much money do you think they make?
It can vary an awful lot. It can
Hmm.
vary an awful lot, but I think at the top of the tree, it will be difficult for a copywriter to exceed 400K. That would be at the
Hmm.
very top end.
Every
But
year.
there's not many people at all, I don't think, at that level
Hmm.
where they're doing 400K or something like that. But I think someone could easily make 5 to 10K a month
Hmm.
as a copywriter. Like starting off maybe if it's your first 6 months or a year, getting up to 3, 4K, and then moving up to maybe 5K to 10K, something like that. Once you get kind of past 10, 12K,
Hmm.
if you want to scale from there, a lot of times for a lot of people, I think you need help then, and then you're not necessarily a lone copywriter anymore. You're running an agency or something like that.
Hmm.
But Writing emails is probably the easiest way to scale as well, because it can be done relatively quickly. Whereas a
Mhm.
long form project, it needs time to put it together, to research it and to put it together. And then obviously needs to go on a page and needs to be tested.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe writing emails, but you can earn maybe 5 to 10K um pretty easily. But a lot of copywriters I talk to are around 3 to 5K.
Mhm.
Um but again, it's the same with every industry, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, like it is. Exactly.
if you take speakers, for instance, that speak on stage, you'll get loads who are scrounging around for like gigs and stuff like that. And then you'll get the top kind of percentage of sharks who are like
Yeah.
just creaming it and getting 50, 100K
Mm.
just to turn up.
Yeah, like making
It's
crazy
the
money.
same
Yeah.
in every industry.
Mhm.
So there was a book written years back, I can't remember the name of the
Mhm.
guy who wrote it. It was Key Person of Influence, and it was about that idea that there are key players in every industry, a top stream.
Mhm.
Like you'll have, you know, some of the top players talk about how they're in 30, 40, 50,000 for a letter, but there's not many people doing that. But
No.
the more results you can get, if
Mhm.
you can leverage your results to if you've got results and you're building them up and you're really, really good, it goes
Mhm.
a long way towards getting those kinds of clients, you know. So, but that's kind of, I think, around. I talk to a lot of guys who are around 3K, 4K, 5K that I know. So it can vary. And yeah, so it can vary a lot, and it can go all the way up to like 300, 400. But then in order to earn really big money, you really need to use your copy to develop a product or an offer or a service or something
Mhm.
like that that you're selling. Because then you're leveraging
Mhm.
selling something. So you're taking back your time. That's really the only way to go past that level, I think.
Yeah, like
Um,
that's sure.
like Clayton Makepeace, who passed away, I think last year, the year before, I think he used to talk about how you're into 1 million or 2 million or something a year.
Mhm.
But
Wow.
again, he was one in a million though. He was out on his own. He was an amazing copywriter and a really cool guy from what I could see. But there's not like there's not like job boards of people hitting 1 million a year, like, you know, that I
Yeah,
can
like
see.
that's for sure.
Mm.
Like, yeah, that's for sure. So, like, speaking of like good copy, so what makes a good copy a good copy? So, what are some of the things that in a good copy?
Yeah. Um the when I was starting out, and I think a lot of people feel like this when they start out, they just think it's the writing and if it
Mhm.
reads well, and that's important, you know.
Yeah.
But really what's behind a really good offer, the core thing is the big idea and the mechanism
Hmm.
behind it, because that's what the copy is built over.
Yeah.
So the big idea and the mechanism is what makes, if you distill it down even further, it's really the big idea is what makes an offer fly or not, you know.
Hmm.
So if you come out with, let's say, a weight loss offer,
Yeah.
you could have it could be really well written and explained, and you
Hmm.
know, the headline could be like a really tight headline and lead and body copy. But unless it's something original, like an original big idea,
Hmm.
something that's slightly disruptive in the market,
Yeah.
it's not going to go anywhere, you know? So, you know, that's so the big idea, and people wonder what that is. Like there's a book up here where it explains it well.
Hmm.
And it talks about how a big idea is something that confirms the audience something they already know. It informs them of something new, and if possible, it astounds them with some new information. And a good example of that years ago was the Atkins diet, for instance. I don't know if you remember
Mm.
that, the Atkins diet.
I don't.
Yeah, it was, you know, keto diet today. It's like
Ah,
the
yes,
Atkins
like I
diet.
know the keto diet. Yeah, like everyone
Yeah,
is crazy about this right now. I don't know
yeah,
why.
but 20 years ago, it was called the Atkins diet. Dr.
All right.
Atkins wrote it out.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was simple. It said, look, you know, um, you're getting bigger or fatter because you're not because you're eating too much, but because you're eating too much sugar and too much carbs,
Mm-hmm.
and it's raising your blood sugar, and your body can't burn fat. So cut out the sugar, cut out the carbs, and your body will start to cannibalize the fat in your body, start to use it for energy. So that's a very disruptive idea. But then there was tons of proof behind it as well.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of a great big idea. That's
Mhm.
why that diet sold hundreds of millions probably in revenue
Yeah, like still going
and
on.
brought us and gave birth to the keto diet is the exact same idea.
Mhm.
You go into ketosis,
Yep.
so your body starts to burn the fat in your body, and you drop down on the carbs and the sugar, and your body starts to just burn fat for
Mhm.
energy. So it's effortless. That's a brilliant big idea, and that's so. And again, keto area has progressed,
Mhm.
so you can't just markets are always progressing and learning more all the time. So if you had something slightly different in the keto area, um, it would work today. But starting off when the market was brand new, there's a
Mhm.
great big idea in weight loss. That's what, and then the copy's built over it. And, you know, obviously copy has to be grab attention and be interesting and, be different, be easy to read and be fast, like the solution is fast and it's building up the value. It's making it seem like a no-brainer, but it's kind of gluing you to the page all the time. It's grabbing your
Yeah, exactly.
attention. These are all the elements of good copy. But unless they're built on a really good big idea, in most cases, depends what you're selling, it's just not gonna work.
Mhm.
So, but there is, yeah. So that's kind of what makes good. That's the core of it.
Mhm.
And then if you're writing a sales letter and just focusing on the copy itself, using, proven kind of structures, good headlines, good leads, it's easy to read, it's fast, it's grabbing your attention. Um,
Yep.
all that is entertaining, all these kind
Mhm.
of things make the make the copy good. And um, yeah, that's kind of it.
Mhm. All right, that's really amazing. So I just want to ask you an important question, right? So I am not in copywriting, right?
Mm,
So and there are so many people in the industry, like they don't know how to write copies and they don't have the money to hire an expensive copywriter, right? So, but they or me, like I just want to write good copy. So, what are the biggest mistakes, like top three mistakes, like people make when writing their first or like their copy by themselves?
three biggest mistakes they make
Yep.
when writing copy by
Yep.
themselves. Um, I would go back to the first thing in that they don't draw back and go, okay, what is, again, come back to the big idea.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look at like what is the big idea behind what I'm selling.
Yeah.
How is it
Exactly.
how is it disruptive? How is it different?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So they don't do that. And then the other thing is they probably don't people don't model what's working at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at what's working at the moment in the market is really important. So people create offers and products, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they won't even know what the biggest offer or product is running in the industry right now. So they're not looking at sales letters that are being mailed out all the time or emails they're receiving, and that's a real clue into what's working in the market for that person. So they're not paying attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
All right.
I think I think the other thing is that they're not really aware of they're not aware of their avatar of who they're
Mm-hmm.
writing to. So they don't know what their fears, frustrations, problems, needs, wants, and desires are of the market. They haven't drilled down into that. And so they just go off and write something without really knowing what makes their offer really good,
Mm-hmm.
what makes it different and what makes the big idea good, and without really understanding the
All
market
right.
themselves. And then on the surface level, they will
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just write copy that's confusing, that's
Mm-hmm.
hard to read, that doesn't have a good structure, that's not using kind of proven headline ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right.
That's stuff like bunching massive paragraphs together using long run-on sentences, boring the reader, all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you got the first two bits right and you do that with the copy, you're not going to go anywhere. Your sales are going to suffer. I think those are the three biggest mistakes people make, to be honest, Andrew. Yeah.
Mhm. Right. So I just want to ask you one last question. Like that's gonna be the one of the most important thing. All right. So you're talking about like the headlines because I know the headlines is one of the most important part for the copy because if they're not engaged and if they're not stopping like while scrolling, or if they get the email and the headline is not perfect, they never
Mm.
open the email. So how do you come up with good headlines for the email or whatever, like either even writing a Facebook ad or something, like how do you come up with the headline?
By getting inspiration from other headlines
Mhm,
that have been around already, you know. So
mhm,
one thing that's important is you need swipe, like you need other headlines that have been written in the same niche or different niches. Sometimes you can, you know, there's a couple of products I have for different people where there's like proven email headlines that have done really well. So you really like copy is like copy in a way. You're not copying the same headline, but you do need inspiration from it of what's worked before, you know. So, you know, and then you kind of um adjust that to your particular niche.
mhm,
But there's not, if you think about it, there's not, you know, there's room to be creative, but kind of in the parameters of what kind of works. So you're right in that the headline is the key part, because I think Ogilvy said it was 80 cents on the dollar is the headline. That's very true. It's got to capture that attention. But going through headlines that have worked before really works well.
mhm,
And again, like I've mentioned before, knowing your market. So, you know, once you know your market, you got to realize what's appealing to them and stuff, you know. And then there's certain psychological triggers that work in headlines too. Like there's tons of them. Like for instance, um, attaching proof to your promise. I think Gary Benson Vinge used to say that. So if I said proof, attaching proof and authority to your product is very important. So if I said um my own program to get shredded in 6 weeks, lose weight, lose 30 pounds, get shredded. But if I said my my experience as a Navy SEAL of getting shredded in 6 weeks, either way, it completely changes and it's like got so much authority behind it. Stuff like curiosity works really well in headlines, but self-interest, because that comes back to knowing your market, and then something new or groundbreaking or revolutionary or something like that. So you don't want them to read the headline and think, I've seen this before. So all these elements go into creating a good headline. And books like Tested Advertising Methods to give you a really good base in that, you know, of what's working. There's a book up there, How to Write a Good Advertisement. I think it's got the 100 best headlines of all time in it. I mean, that book is only about 15 books or something. So that's a good starting point. But you'll pick up stuff online of what's worked in these books, or what, you know, headlines that have worked before, and you model that, and that maximizes your chance of success, you know, in the market. So, but on my site, I think it's I give away a bunch of email subject lines, so
mhm.
somebody can check out that if they want, just as a start. You know, Peter
All right.
Brennan did that. So
Yeah, like I'm gonna link everything on the description. Like you were speaking about, like, or we're talking about, like, how long you have been in this industry, like over 10 years. So how you saw the industry change for last 10 years and how it was like back in like 2012 and versus 2022.
yeah, I think it's changed quite a bit. I mean,
Mhm,
um, like there's different faces have come and gone in the industry. When it's kind of started off, probably about nearly 20 years ago or so,
mhm,
um, there were very few like copywriters online. There was like a
mhm,
handful of them.
mhm,
So some of the people I would have learned from originally, like Alan Forrest or Michelle
mhm,
Fortin and these kind of guys, John Carlton was one of those guys who would have come online, you know, first. They were kind of a small group, and they were highly in demand, and they would have been earning a fortune for a sales letter. Like they would have been earning 10, 20,000. And that's 10, 15, 20 years ago for a
mhm.
sales letter. So
Wow.
the so the you know, so it was they were on speaking circuits, and you know, people were just
Mhm.
learning really about this copy. I kind of had a mystery to it or whatever
All right.
online.
Mhm,
They'd cut their teeth offline, most of them beforehand, I think. So it was like a select tiny group of people who were doing really well. But over the years, more and more copywriters have flooded into the market
Mhm.
from all different areas, some because of a genuine passion for the craft and doing it, and others just because it's been sold by some people as a way to make six figures
Mhm.
easily, or a high income skill, or this
Yeah.
kind, which it is, but so it's changed with more and more people flooding into the market.
Mhm.
And that's one thing. More clients, more businesses, more types of copy as well.
Mhm.
So most of the time, years ago, people would just write, like, it would be long sales letters, but now people are doing really well who've never written a long sales letter, or who've never written a big kind of campaign, but they've written a bunch of Facebook ads and
Mhm.
emails, and then they might become a copywriting mentor or something,
Mhm.
which is fair enough,
Yeah.
and so they market themselves well. But some of these people wouldn't have a clue how to write a long sales letter or put
Mm.
something really good
Mhm.
together, or put a long funnel together and launch it on Clickbank and make money
Mhm. Yeah.
that way. But sounds, well, not being bitter against them, but that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can make money and do really well with different types of copy, like, as I say, email, social media, content, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So that's what's happened. Just recently, you're seeing, like, AI, making more of an impact, and that will only
Yes,
increase over
exactly.
time.
So I
Chat
was
GPT and stuff like that.
yeah.
So ultimately, like, a client was sharing with me
Mm. Mhm.
some of the stuff he generated from my copy with GDP the other day, and the
Oh.
headlines were very, I mean, I don't think it could do much. Don't know if what it could do with the body copy that was gonna make a difference, but it could certainly spit out a ton of really good headlines really quickly to test. So I think it's just gonna speed up the whole
Yeah.
process. The headlines were really good, um, and so if you were running Facebook ads, you could just set up a load of ads to different headlines and pick a
Mhm.
winner. It's something that might take me, like, our copywriter, a few days to write out that many headlines and get
Mhm.
them together. So, yeah, so it's starting to make an inroads into there, but it's not quite there yet, and there's still room, I think, for
Mhm.
top level copywriters to still do well. Like, it's going to affect content writing quite a lot, I think. Um, but again, it's not matching the luster that a human can put on the copy just yet.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Mhm.
I think that's only a matter of time, to be honest. So who knows?
But do you think like in 5 to 10 years, like the AI can replace like full-time copywriter, or like it's never gonna happen? So what do you think about that?
It's hard to know, but I think it's only going one way. So I
Mhm.
think AI, um, I think copywriting is, because copywriting is not just like it putting together the words on the
Mhm.
page. It's the theory behind them and why they go then. So I think if you understand that deeper understanding of copy,
Yeah.
I think there'll be a job there. But ultimately, who knows what AI could do in the next 4 or 5 years? So I think it will certainly take a certain amount of copywriters out of the game.
Mhm.
It may encourage more people as copywriters to go down just the selling products route. So just to use their skill to do that. I think it will increase and this is stuff that I've learned from, other people, but it will decrease the research time, so make things move faster.
Mhm.
I definitely, and obviously the interface with something like ChatGPT and competitors will become quicker. So I don't think it's going to end copywriting completely, but it's certainly going to have an big
Mhm.
impact on the industry. And there's a lot of people have flooded, as I say, into the market
Yeah.
over the years,
Mhm.
and AI could write better copy than some of them, especially, like, so they say that some people would be like non-native English speakers and stuff
Mhm.
writing,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's going to be tough going up against AI. But ultimately, I think it will affect lots of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, but it's, as I say, in a lot of industries, it's the offer is doing well is more than just the copy.
Mhm.
It's about how original the big idea is, and so the research that goes into it. So not sure how far AI could go with that yet, but again,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it will affect
Yeah.
copywriters for
w-
sure.
we never know,
Hey,
like how things can go crazy. But I'm gonna just ask you one last question because I mentioned like last one, but I just want to ask you one more question. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not an English speaker, like native English speaker, right? And there are so many other people they don't speak English, and English is not their first language, and we don't know like exact grammar, like to go into the words. So do you think that's really important to like know and learn that grammar, or you can be a good copywriter for your business, for yourself, and you can just write copies without learning the grammar and this kind of thing, you know?
If you're, yeah, it depends. Like if you're, there's a certain way of writing sometimes. Like there's like I think there's a lot of non-native speaking copywriters that have done well,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that will. So it's not a barrier necessarily, but it's like if I was trying to learn another language and write copy in it,
mm-hmm,
far more challenging for me to succeed than writing copy in my native language, which is English.
exactly. Mm,
So be more so to be more challenging. Sometimes I see native copywriters or non-native speakers, they'll write copy and the grammar will be fine, but it's
mm-hmm,
just the way the sentence is structured. It doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like the way the market would speak, you know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So that can be kind of an issue. But I think a lot of these non-native speakers, I have a lot of respect for them from different countries because
mm-hmm.
they're smarter than me. I couldn't go and learn like, some kind of Indian dialect and start writing copy.
Yeah, exactly.
That would just be kind of like, beyond the pale for me. So I think a lot of these guys can perfect that.
Mm-hmm,
But I would advise a lot of these guys, if they are non-native English speaking, looking to write copy, to
mm-hmm,
just study a lot of existing copy, the way that not to study maybe the English books they might learn in school or something, but
mm-hmm,
to look at obviously they do that, but like look at the sales copy and you'll get into how things are written and said in your particular niche. But there's a lot that are doing okay. So, but it just seems like a little bit more extra effort. But if you want to do it, go for it and stuff. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, like you'll see ads on job boards from
Yeah.
people,
Mm-hmm.
and just the ads don't the sentences don't make any sense or
Yeah, exactly.
type of thing, and it's yeah. So, but there are guys I've seen who've done really, really well. So it's just up to the individual if they want to make it as a copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
But you're gonna have a harder time than someone who's a native English speaker, to be
Yeah, like
honest.
that's for sure. Like yeah, like that's
Yeah.
true. But if like I'm writing for myself, like what do you think? It's gonna be good or
Oh yeah, if you're writing for your own business as well,
mm-hmm.
again, it's the same rules apply. If you're writing for someone else, they're going to be quite finicky about how you
Yeah.
sound for them. But if you're writing for your own business and it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on what you're doing, yeah, it absolutely. And it costs very little to hire somebody as like a proofreader to go through your copy and make sure that the sentences make sense and there's no mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and
All
stuff
right.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's all about it sounding right. Like I make grammatical mistakes when I write copy, even though I put it through Google Docs and Grammarly and stuff. I don't have a huge eye for detail sometimes, so I make
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. But but the sentences do sound real. They sound like somebody,
Mm-hmm.
native wrote them, you know. But
Yeah.
who knows? I'm sure like and with AI could help with that as well because
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
AI can write very natural sounding sentences and it will kind of train your brain
Mm-hmm.
into writing those kind of sentences. So yeah. So I think and absolutely for your own business, depending on what you're selling,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it will work perfectly well. So, you know, go for it. If
Yeah.
it's I
Yeah,
mean,
I just think that we just have to try, like, and then like if nothing happens, we can always change a few things here and there, right?
hmm, like I saw a post from someone a while back who was dyslexic
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to write copy. And I just thought, yeah, you could do that and more power to you. But I just thought it was such a big challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That maybe there might be something else you could work at that where there'd be a natural inkling. I always liked English. I always liked selling. So it's not like I was like coming in and going to like be a super talented copywriter, but I do have a bit of an edge in that I enjoy that and have a bit of a skill or a natural
Mm-hmm.
inkling towards language and selling. So it was a natural movement into the area.
Yeah. exactly. Like it's just
So
everything fall into its own place for you. Like yeah.
yeah. So I think that applies to
Mhm,
some people are naturally really good with their hands or
mhm.
fixing things, or
Mm,
you
yeah,
can earn a lot of money. And like the
yeah.
guy who installed the heating system, the boiler in the house, I mean, he was here for like an hour. He charged me €3,500.
Wow,
Do you know what I mean? So,
that's
you know,
crazy.
I couldn't do what he does, but he mightn't be able to write a good sales letter.
Yeah, like he needs to hire you
Or if
to
he
do
can,
the job.
gosh damn him, I hate him.
Yeah, like that for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we just have to wrap up this episode, guys. Like I hope you guys learned so many things about like copywriting, how can you write good copies. But if you want to learn how to write good copies, and if you want to get some like info about copywriting, like good headlines, you can always follow Peter. I'm gonna link Peter's like website, and you can follow him on Instagram and Facebook. So you can go check him out, and you can learn so like more things about copywriting that we are never able to discuss in this episode. But yeah, like I hope you guys able to learn so many things about copywriting, and hope you will join Peter as well. All right, guys, that's it for today, and we will see you guys next episode. Bye. Yeah.